Okay, good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing? Great day so far?
Yeah.
Have you learned something? Outstanding. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Just, again, friendly reminder, Phil Coleman, Public Safety, 2 years, here to help you out. How's that sound? Yeah, get online. You'll find everything. Call our office. Can't believe a little bit of the grief I've gotten from my coworkers today about call our office, so don't understand that, but still feel free to call me. Oh, go ahead. Got a lot of support here. So PSPRS, who are we? You know, what do we do in essence? Things that happen. So again, 1968 is when we began a statewide program. Age and multiple plan. So each one of you, each individual employer is its own little public pension program. That's why each one of you get your individual valuations. So it's not like the ASRS, where a lot of us are familiar with the statewide plan. This one's rather unique. So it's an age and multiple plan. So each one of you is your own little pension program, and that's why each one of you has your own little experience studies that you receive each year. So who do we cover? We cover state agencies, counties, cities, fire districts, Indian tribes, public safety type organizations, police, fire, corrections. I guess you guys already know that. We've got about 60,000 members in this plan. 60,000 retired, active, make up this program. About 250 employers throughout the great state of Arizona that we work with. We had a good year of investing. Not banner, not off the charts, but $547 million. You know what? That's not too bad. Our assets are up to about $11.2 billion. All administered by a staff of 55. So when you think about our ratio, staff per member, I think we're doing okay for the size of our organization. We mentioned this earlier, public safety membership, working full-time, involved in hazardous duty. I'm an AZ post-certified police officer or firefighter. Again, kudos to the individuals that thought up that pre-employment physical, because I think it's huge. If you were just over in the disability session, it really drives that piece home. Establishing that you had something wrong with you prior, so you can't use that again for another disability. Again, demographics. You take in that new employee, you're going to put them online, and then you're going to follow up at this point in time with a piece of paper to our office. And really the big thing about that piece of paper is email address, obviously, so we can get a hold of them, but beneficiaries. You guys heard me earlier, I've got a couple horror stories that I can share with you about beneficiaries. It's huge, so we need that data from you guys, so don't forget. CORP, Correctional Officer Program. Hired full-time, 40 hours, state correction, state, county, city detention, probation, surveillance coming out of AOC, other designated according to statute, pre-employment medical, which again is outstanding. Consistent. We are now consistent after a statutory change that took effect 9/1 of last year, where those members get that 90-day election. Not that hurry up and you have to make a decision by tomorrow because I'm doing payroll tomorrow. So I really like the idea that at least the CORP program has kind of mirrored public safety as far as how long those individuals get to make a decision. Public safety Tier 1 members hired prior to 1/1 of 12. We kind of have different situation as far as some contributions going. So if I was hired prior to 7/20 of 11, 7.65% is the statutory rate for members to kick in. And I'm saying that because I'm privy to a couple of employers that maybe supplement some contributions, believe it or not. If I was hired after July 20, and then prior to 1/1 of 12, 11.65%. Okay, contribution rates are a little bit higher for that small group of people, but again, I think it's necessary. Last time I did research on this subject matter, across the country, the average public safety pension contribution is 16%. So if you look at paying $765, I'll move on from there. Employer contributions change July 1 of each year, and again, for each one of you as employers, I get those phone calls periodically. When's that valuation coming out? Trying to do some budgeting here, trying to take care of business. So those contribution rates change for the employer side 7/1 of each year. And we've got some tools on the website. I just shared it with a fire district a couple days ago. In lieu of the cumbersome activity of going through that valuation, trying to find it, we've got a tool on our website. And again, if anyone wants to reach out and ask me, I'll show you where it is. It's a heck of a lot easier. It gives you a snapshot, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, member, employer. It's a great tool on the website under the contribution section of the web. So again, give me a holler and I'll help you out with that. Tier 2 members hired between January 1 of 12 and June 30 of 17. I've got one right here. Okay. We're looking at about 11.65% for that member who, that defined benefit, who does pay into that Social Security program. If I'm not paying into Social Security, I'm looking at a hybrid plan, 11.65 plus 3% on the member side. Again, they don't have Social Security, so the vehicle was created, a couple extra bucks in their pocket upon separation, to kind of take the place of Social Security. And we'll leave that one alone as well. I got all kinds of opinions. So that actuarial valuation, as I said, changes. And again, for tier 2 members, based on data higher, that employer might be looking at a 4% contribution, and then over a period of time, it will go down to 3%. There again, that's on our website. It's all about data hire. We mentioned this earlier, tier 3, 7/1 of 17. Does my employer or do they not pay into Social Security? So that's what makes the determining factor here as far as that member making that DB-DC or hybrid DC election. And this is good for you guys to understand as well. I don't know how in depth you go with your new hires, but at least giving them a little bit of a snapshot of what their true choices might be could be helpful. Instead of assuming that they understand what's going on here. And again, I'm privy, I've worked with cops and firefighters my whole career. When they're in the academy, their focus is on graduation. They don't care about retirement. They don't care about pension. They care about graduating and doing their thing. So here's where we start getting a little bit crazy when we talk about contribution. So that tier 3 member, arguably the legislative change was basically to create some equity between the member and the employer. So that defined benefit member, the contribution rates for the member and the employer are somewhat the same. Okay, there's some minor deviations with that, but arguably the intent is 50-50, kind of leveling the playing field. Again, pension reform throughout the country is something that we've seen. It's not foreign, okay? It's just us trying to keep up with the times as well. That hybrid plan, we talked about that earlier. You've got a defined benefit upon retiring plus a bucket of money when you walk out the door, or that straight DC. And right now, let's just say that DC contribution is about 9% for the member. Now, having a defined contribution plan, given the nature of these occupations, we recognize the fact that these are volatile jobs. Being a cop or a firefighter, I mean, come on now. So they have to make a premium payment, as well as the employer, for disability coverage. And right now in the public safety plan, it's about 1.51%, if I remember correctly. Okay, so the employer, again, kind of matching that. The difference with the employer contribution is going to be that legacy payment. Legacy, paying for the past, paying for those tier 1 and tier 2 members. So that's what kind of changes this a little bit. So the contribution is the same, plus legacy, and then the employer's kicking in that disability contribution as well. But the statutory intent is that they're mirrored. If not for legacy, I think they would be. CORP members, tier 1, tier 2, hired from 1/1 of 12 through 6/30 of 18. Because then as of 7/1 of 18, we ran into some pension reform. We got tier 3 in CORP, defined contribution pretty much only. So those dispatchers versus non-dispatchers is how the CORP was put together. So dispatchers are kicking in about 7.96% of what we call pensionable wage. And there again, that's on the website. It is going to be a little bit different for public safety versus CORP. So if I've got some county people in here, there is different definitions of pensionable salary between the two. I remember correctly, overtime is probably the big one, isn't it? Yeah, public safety looks at overtime, CORP does not. So that is huge. Non-dispatchers are paying in about 8.41% of their pensionable wage. There again, we've got that employer contribution based on that valuation. Yeah, that's busy, isn't it? So, Tier 3, DC member, defined contribution, now has a 90-day window to make that irrevocable decision on the percentage of contributions. So, minimum, 5%. Maximum, IRS, covering about 40%. Or the default, that's 7. If I'm an AOC member, probation surveillance, I can elect DB or DC, and that's going to determine, obviously, what that contribution rate is as well. Those members also have a 90-day window to make that election. Again, as a DC member in corrections, kind of a crazy job at times as well. Things happen inside those facilities. They have disability coverage, a little bit cheaper, 0.5. I have my glasses on, believe it or not. Is it 0.51? It's not on. Oh, 0.70, sorry. Yes, 5.1 is the public safety. So, as an employer, I'm kicking in 9%, maybe some legacy for Tier 1, Tier 2, and that additional contribution for disability coverage for those correctional officers. Pensionable compensation limits. Here in the great state of Arizona, if you're a public safety member in Tier 1 or Tier 2 and you're making more than, for 2020, $285,000, right? Show of hands. I know you're going to be embarrassed. I know you are. A little bit of OT here and there. Someone's hitting that 285 benchmark, right? Okay. I've yet to run into someone who's exceeded that limit, so I have fun with it. In the event that someone did, at that point in time, let's say they hit that 285 benchmark in October. They stop making contributions for the balance of the calendar year. If they're a DB member, they continue to get credit for those months that they didn't pay into the plan because they exceeded that limit. Now, if I'm a Tier 3 member, and that, again, as my PowerPoint illustrates, that's basically an IRS regulation that does change each year. As a Tier 3 member, the state sets that limit. So as we can see right now, it's at about $110,000. And it should be changing this year. I reached out, I don't know if anyone's in the room, but I reached out, didn't I see Cindy a minute ago? Oh, there is Cindy. So I reached out to a handful of employers, and it's statutory as to who we contact to look at salaries. So we look all throughout the state, small employers, middle-sized, large employers, look at salaries to determine what that salary rate is going to be for the next 3 years. So it is set to change this year in 2020. The Board of Trustees has to vote upon it, so I didn't update that record yet. But that threshold is 110. A little bit easier to obtain. I'm not going to ask anyone because I don't want to go there. But I am privy to one member, and I'm confident there's more, but I'm just privy to one. Gentleman hits that benchmark roughly October, and for the balance of the calendar year does not pay into the pension program. The member doesn't pay in when they hit that limit, and the employer doesn't pay in. So the question, what about disability coverage? They already paid for the year. They're good. Okay, so just so you understand that there are pensionable limits, and again, for public safety, it does change, at least for Tier 3, every 3 years.
So Phil, if they did that for 3 years ago, that 110 would be their number for their top, or the
I would
top
agree.
5, I guess, for the Tier 3 guys.
Yep.
Assuming it didn't change every
So
year.
I think the intent is trying to limit the payouts on, let's just call it the DB side.
Right.
You
But
know,
the 110 is off their gross income. It's not.
Right.
It's not the payout of the retirement pension.
No, sir. It's based on gross income. My gross is 109. Oh, I just missed it. Yeah, I get to pay in for the whole year. So
So even if they pull 150 for 5 straight years, their pension would be based off of 110.
exactly. Or if it changed, because again, it changes every 3 years. So,
I get it.
but yeah, you're right. You did a great job up here. You understood that. You probably already knew that though ahead of time. So in CORP, oh yes.
Do you have anyone who's been grandfathered in?
It's a great question. Off the top of my head, no. I mean, it's all based on data hired when you're in the tier. So I'd be a little confused how you get grandfathered in.
So the ones who are employed with a higher date prior to 7/1 of '96, their limit is more,
Oh, wow.
425,000.
You got me on that one. If you want to follow up with me and send me an email, we'll talk later, and I'd be happy to. It's a great question. It's the first time I've heard that. Thank you. Pension or CORP, Tier 1, Tier 2, same threshold according to the IRS, but Tier 3, and again, serious pension reform, 70,000. So if you're a correctional officer or anyone covered under CORP, and you hit that 70K, from that point in time to the balance of the calendar year, you're not paying in, the employer's not paying in to the pension plan. When 1 rolls around, here we go. You start paying in again. We hit the limit. I mean, this can go on. So it'll be reviewed by the board down the road. Obviously, again, brand new legislation, so it's going to take us a couple years to get to that benchmark. Please remember, the member does accrue credit under the DB because it's a calculation. They do get service credit for the months that they don't make those contributions. So they're not losing. Great point. It's just that their high 3, high 5 is limited, based on that salary. You had a question?
I answered it.
Oh,
I finished.
I don't get a chance?
Yeah, I was just wondering why calendar and not fiscal.
I wasn't at the Capitol that day, and I don't know. It's a good question, but again, one set by the IRS, the other one set by the state of Arizona. Credited service. I was on board for a short period of time, and I got hit with this one, and this is another thing that I just go crazy with about you guys, and I'm really all over the members. Okay, when I do member education, I am whooping on those people to get online, because it's their pension. Okay, they need to assume a little responsibility here. So I've worked with my employer for 20 years. But within that 20-year benchmark, I was leave of no pay for a period of time. A couple pay periods here, a couple pay periods there. I was naughty. They said, stay home for 2 weeks and we'll see you later, When we go to calculate a benefit, it's based on credited service. Credited service is earned while you're making contributions. So there again, the member needs to go and look at their records and double check if they're missing any time. Let's have that conversation today, not on the verge of when I'm getting ready to go. Because what we're asking our local board secretaries to do, and again, I'm going to bat for you guys like there's no tomorrow. We're asking the local board secretary to eyeball 20 years worth of bi-weekly contributions and try to find a gap. Okay, oh, your phone rang. Oh, someone came into your office, a coworker. Phil called. I mean, those are one of those things that you need a lot of just time to have no interruptions to eyeball 20 years worth of bi-weekly contributions to try to find that one pay period that is no contribution, because that member is going to be a little upset with you. What do you mean I don't have 20 years of credited service? And again, I truly believe that it's their pension, it's their obligation, but you know what, that's going to take time for us to really educate people to get online. If you guys help out, of course you can. Push your members to get on the website. Push them to do things that they need to do. It's their pension. We're always going to help out. We're going to do the best we can. I'm pushing for a tool that would be made available to local board secretaries to look up that service and identify time that's missing. Okay, we can do this, and we need to share it with you guys. We're just not there yet. Make your life easier. Okay, so credited service is huge. They might have enough time to retire, 20 years of service, but when you go to calculate the benefit, they don't have 20 years accredited. Therefore, their benefit's going to be dinged, reduced, less money because they didn't have 20 years of credited service. Service, yes, sir.
Is there anything about you are like a leave without pay? And you're not making contributions for a month? Does that move to a different tier?
No, it doesn't move. Once you're in Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, based on data higher you're in. Okay, but the leave without pay, again, is used, it's a negative in the calculation of your benefit. And correct me if I'm wrong, members, they don't have the ability to just buy, they can't buy airtime. Yeah, you can't just buy a leave of absence. I was naughty, my employer gave me 30 days off, no pay. Can I buy that time? No. There's other states in the country that NDMA that allow members to purchase time, but this state is not one of them. Okay. You have a question? No? Maybe? You thinking about it? No? Okay. I was a member of public safety in the past. I only put in a couple years. And I left. I pulled my money out. I'm not vested. I find myself back in the plan. I can buy that time back. You know? And again, kick tires. I'm always encouraging members. I don't know your finances. I don't want to know your finances. You know? Don't tell me how much money you have in your 457. Figure it out. So we have tools online where members can look at service purchases. What's it going to cost me? It's a rough idea. It's pretty dang close, but it gets the wheels spinning a little bit. Maybe I was in the military before I was a public safety member. I can buy that time back. You know, let's do some inquiries. Let's look at some numbers. And is it advantageous? You know, maybe I was in a different state. I came from Minnesota. They have a public pension plan there. Can I buy that Minnesota time? Well, I can't because of the rules that ASRS has, but if I only had a couple years in Minnesota, and now I'm here, I could buy that time. But once I qualify for a benefit, I don't think I can buy that time. So again, great questions, a lot of good information on the website. You know, let's encourage people to take care of business.
Just a quick question, the 60 months maximum, is that total maximum or is it per prior employment? Like if they had 5 years, one in Iowa and then 5 years in California, could they do 60
I
months?
think they can because it's separate plans, isn't it? Send me an email.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure either.
Phil, is there a cheaper year to?
I've heard things, but I
In the
haven't
past, I
done it.
think it was like 21 to 23
Yeah.
years, something like that.
Yeah, I think, again, in the logic behind this, and again, I'm not the expert on this, but I've heard, and I just haven't done my due diligence to go through that. So I'm at 18 and I'm buying 20, that's going to be expensive because I'm buying my pension. But once I get to 20 and I look at buying time, it could be a little bit less. Okay, but I'm not the expert on that. Again, I've heard from members that are telling me things, and I haven't really proved it yet.
Is that a Brian or Will question?
Yes. Best answer I got for you. Retirement, Tier 1, qualifiers. Public safety, Tier 1 member, 20 years of service. 20 and out, no age, I qualify. Okay, again, calculations can be based on that credited service. Form of early retirement if you wish, 62 with 15. Okay, again, trying to maintain this plan, when you look at the majority of our members currently being in Tier 1, the sustainability of 20 and out. I started at 24, I retire at 44, I die at 84. Oh, and by the way, my spouse collects a benefit for the rest of their life as well. Sustainability, huge, okay? Is that why we're at? Potentially, because 20 and out, any age, more power to these people. Again, I respect the heck out of cops and firefighters. But to sustain a plan this way, that's why you see a little bit of a change in 2, dramatic change in Tier 3. All about sustainability. Average monthly benefit calculated on a high 3, 36 consecutive months within that 20-year period. Member does not get to cherry pick their months, 36 consecutive months. So there again, why should I be on the website? Looking at my salary, looking at my benefit, planning my future. Unused sick and vacation time is not used in the calculation of a benefit. It's not a pensionable wage. So I can't use that to spike my high 3. Okay? Calculation, basically, we're looking at a 2.5 multiplier for the first 20 years. So I do 20 years, 50% of my high 3. Then we get into a little bit of a graded multiplier. From year 20 to 24, 11, a 2% multiplier. But then once I hit 25 years of service, all my years of service are at 2.5%. So at 20 years, I'm looking at 50%. But if I hang on for 5 more years, I'm looking at 62.5. Okay, and where I came from, we were strongly encouraging cops and firefighters to work a little bit longer. It doesn't always go over. I've been threatened to be tased 3 times. Firefighters were nice to me, but the cops, one guy even reached down and hit. Wow, he was serious. But again, to sustain a plan, we have to do some things differently. And again, I think we all know the history of this plan, and trying to increase contributions didn't go over well. Okay, so it is what it is. Auto survivor benefit, another great benefit that this plan offers, whether you're a CORP member or a public safety member. As a retired member, I've been married for at least 2 years. as a retiree, I die, my spouse gets 80% of my benefit for the rest of their life. It's not an election, it's automatic, so that costs the plan a couple bucks as well. Again, I think the vast majority of us in the room right now are covered by ASRS. As an example, I go to provide a survivor benefit to my spouse, it's an actuarial reduction. I have to discount my benefit to leave money for someone else. But here in public safety and CORP, it is a free automatic survivor benefit to that surviving spouse. So I could have been single when I retired. Shortly thereafter, I get married. I die 5 years later because I've been married for 2 years as a retiree. My spouse will collect. Okay?
Question.
Yes, sir.
So they have to be married at least 2 years, or is there a time limit for that?
2 consecutive years, if I read
Once
it.
a member retires.
Yes, upon retirement, they have to be married for 2 consecutive years. Deferred retirement option, drop. Tier 1 only for public safety, okay? What is drop? I hit that 20-year benchmark, 20 years accredited service, if I remember correctly, and I can say, you know what, I'm going to continue to work, but that X number of dollars a month that I'm eligible to receive today, I want to throw it in a deferred retirement account. Okay, drop is voluntary, and it's irrevocable. Okay, pretty clear about that. It's been that way since day one. Once the member goes into drop nowadays, because I know we had some issues a couple years back, just got that cleaned up last year. No one's making contributions when the member goes into drop. No member, no employer contributions. The member's still working. They can look at their drop account. They can see their money's being deposited. They retire. Let's say they did 20 in, 5 years of drop, so arguably they have 25 years working with your organization. Benefits can be based on 20 years, so they keep that monthly benefit, plus they walk out the door with a nice chunk of change. Now, I counter to that, and again, when I do member education, I'm just going to throw it out there. What if I don't drop? You know, there's pros and cons, and I just want people to make informed decisions. I want people to understand that, well, wait a minute, if I don't drop, I get 62.5% for the rest of my life plus a higher survivor benefit. You know, but I'm giving up a nice chunk of money walking out the door. There's pros and cons. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Okay? So members need to make that choice, and that was one of the things that I learned early on here is talking to some people, it's like, well, you're kind of silly if you don't drop. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm going to live to be 118. The math doesn't work for me here, you know? So, again, personal choice. I had one gentleman up in Prescott after you and I did some work together. He was happier than heck that I went down that path because he was just kept on hearing, you got to drop, you got to drop, you got to drop. He's like, no, I want to leave a higher survivor benefit for my wife, you know? And so he came up and thanked me for that because no one's ever said it before. So again, personal choice, members make that decision, but I really would encourage people to do their homework on that one. Sorry, I went a little bit longer on that. Yes?
So if they do enter the drop, but after their 5 years decide not to take any lump sum, could they still get the 60 whatever percent?
No, not to the best of my knowledge, because they drew a line in the sand and they said, I'm done. Because again, they didn't contribute. You know, so your membership in essence stopped at that point in
So
time.
whether they do or don't take the lump sum, it doesn't impact their monthly pension amount.
No, it is what it is. I would agree with that. I would say that in the event the member goes beyond the 5-year benchmark, if I remember correctly, which is pretty rare, because you kind of told your employer, I'm checking out at 5. What I understand is the cops are more than likely to not do the full 5, but the firefighters do the full 5. Okay, that's what we see. I choose to hang on longer, and my employer is going to allow me to do that. You don't get the interest on the drop account. So while we're holding on to the money, it's gaining interest as well. So it's not a bad deal for them. So when they terminate, they get a lump sum distribution in their nationwide account. But
The drop lump sum cannot stay with us, so it does have to go to nationwide upon the member's retirement. So he's going to start earning the pension, and that taxable balance goes straight to nationwide. It cannot stay with us.
And that's even if, so they hit 5 years, but they continue to work. And it wouldn't happen until they actually retire.
Right, and there's no interest on that then. It's only that monthly pension that was originally calculated times 60. That's it. And
But it stays with you until they retire.
they don't. Nothing is gaining on that. We're using the money, but they are not able to until they terminate employment.
they take it really bizarre situation, but it could happen. Yes, sir, you have a question?
No, I thought you said that if you wish to continue to work after your 60 months, you can't continue to work after your 60 months.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
You can, and that's what the MOU is signed by the member, the employer, and the local board. It has happened though, and there is statute that does direct what happens if that does occur. But the local board has to have that discussion with the member and then let us know if they're going to allow that member to stay beyond the law. It's not up to us, that's not up to the member. We recommend that they put it in writing to the local board and the employer if they're going to do that.
Should we talk after the meeting? I can see you guys got more questions for us.
Because I thought if you did that, you lose all your interest that you earned in drop.
You do, you lose the interest.
Essential financial penalty.
Right, you lose the interest, but you don't lose that lump sum, which is your monthly benefit that's been sitting there and accruing that interest. So you get your monthly benefit times 60, but not the interest on everything. So your monthly benefit amount you might have, or let me go with the interest because that's a number I can recall. You might have $50,000 you've earned out that drop cumulative balance at the very bottom. That's part of the total. You're not going to get that $50,000, but you're going to get your monthly benefit times 60.
Yeah.
You're still going to get something out of it. It just says by statute we can't.
So our assumed rate of return, is it not? On the,
Yeah.
on the drop, yeah. So you're looking at 7.3% compounded for 60 months. You know, depending on what that dollar amount is, that could be a healthy chunk of change as well. Something new that was brought up at the morning session is keeping the money with public safety. You know, we're honestly making a push to encourage members to not necessarily roll that drop money into another account, keeping it with us. And I think the biggest thing that I would offer you is the fees. So based on our current balance that we have in that drop account, our fees have been dropped down to 0.51%, whereas the national average for investing money, for having someone manage your money, is about 1.68. So depending on how much dough we're talking about, you know, that can amount to be a couple bucks. You don't have to move the money out. You can let it sit, let it ride. You know, investment vehicles across the board are identical. You know, whether it's stocks, bonds, large cap, mid cap, small cap, everyone invests the same way. The question is, who's charging me what to invest my money? And just trying to encourage members. Now, my employer offers a 457. I've got money there as well. You can take that money and roll it into that nationwide public safety 401 as well. And again, lower fees. That's what we're offering you. We're not in the business of making money here. We're in the business of helping our people, serving those who serve others. We've got great financial people in our organization. They do a great job for us. They're helping out with this money management. Public safety defer, tier 1. I've got 10 years of service in the plan. I'm done being a cop or a firefighter as a tier 1 member. 10 years. Private sector knocks on my door, they want to double my income. Okay, I'm out of here. I can leave my money with public safety. I can let it ride for a period of time, or I can pull it out whenever I want, because that's my choice. But I can let it ride, and I can apply for a deferred annuity later on in life. Okay, I just doubled my income. I don't really need the dough right now. But this annuity is an annuity. It's not a pension. So there's no increases, there's no health care subsidies, and there's no automatic survivor benefits. But again, do I need to make a decision when I walk out the door? No. You can let it ride until you figure something out. Why not? So again, just emphasizing the fact that we don't have to hurry up and do things. Tier 2 members, as far as the calculation goes, again, now we're looking at ages. 52 and a half. First eligible for a Tier 2 public safety to start collecting that benefit. 25 years of service, no penalty, because that's kind of the top end of this thing, with a 2.5 multiplier. Or 15 years of service, again, 52 and a half, graded multiplier, and that formula, my first 10 years are this, you know, my 10 through 12 is that, 13 through 15 is this graded multiplier. Members using the website, they're looking at the numbers, it's going to give them that number, but it is graded. That one is no reduction as well. We're looking at a high 5, 60 consecutive months, in which that salary is the highest. Hybrid, if I'm one of those Tier 2 hybrid members, where I've got a defined benefit and a defined contribution. That defined contribution account vests at 10% per year or 10 years fully vested. Okay? Vesting, employee, and employer contributions when I walk out the door. So 2 buckets of money plus my lifetime pension. That's what hybrid basically means. Yes?
So there's no incentive for Tier 2 members to work past 25 years of service? When it
Let's
comes
call it
to
healthcare.
Pension? No. Other than that?
So there is incentive. They can continue to get that 2.5 multiplier until roughly 32 years of service. The benefit caps out at 80%.
Okay.
So there is, but healthcare is the big one. I hate to say it out loud, but I'm going to because that's just who I am. I got divorced and I don't want my ex to get my dough, so I'm going to work longer. Sorry to say it, but you know what? I've been doing this job a long time. I've heard that comment before. It is what it is. Yes?
On that previous slide, so both of them are credited service?
Yes.
25 years?
Yeah, it's all about credited service. That's what my PowerPoint says. Tier 2 deferral. I started at 25. I hit my 25 at age 50. I'm done. I've hit the wall. 25 years of public safety work, I'm done. Keep your money on account. Wait 2.5 years. That's the deferral. You've got the service requirement, you just don't have the age requirement. Let the money ride. 52.5, tap into the benefit. You do get healthcare subsidies, you do get increases, you do get the auto survivor. So just a little bit of a difference between a form of deferral, Tier 1 versus Tier 2. And all this information is on the website. It's in the handbook on the website. And I know someone's going to say, you know, you haven't updated your handbook in a couple of years. We do know that. And we're in the process of doing it. So be patient with us. We'll get there. Calculation, again, 25 years of service is a 2.5 multiplier. And anything beyond, I thought this was greater too, but I just see it. All years of service at 2.5%. Okay, just so we understand that. If I don't have that 25 years accredited service, and I leave because I'm 52.5, you know, I'm leaving a little bit early because I don't have 25, you're going to see an actuarial reduction, roughly about 4% per year. So the benefit is reduced. Okay, so we just, again, encourage people to play with the website because they're making informed decisions based on finances. Okay, that will help out a little bit, maybe motivate someone to hang on a little bit longer. I'll take a step backwards. Tier 1. If you're privy to a Tier 1 member checking out at 2410, maybe you want to say, do you realize if you work 2 more months, you know, you're going to get that higher multiplier? So maybe get online and look at the difference between the two because it's for the rest of your life, as well as it has an impact on that survivor benefit. So I'm very clear when I, again, help people out. They're thinking about leaving prior to that 25. They're knocking on the door. It's like standing your head in the corner for 2 months, get to the 25 years, and get a higher benefit for the rest of your life. Vesting, Tier 3, 15 years of service, but here's where we start seeing age, 55. Okay, we heard this morning from Doug and Diane that the conversation is maybe dropping that down to 54. Okay, proposed legislation, don't know what's going to happen with it. Hard to say. But, you know, this is where we're solidly getting to some age requirements. 15 years of credited service, 52.5, I can leave early, but my benefit's going to be reduced because I didn't hit that 55 age benchmark. High 5 again, 60 consecutive months. Maximum, the equivalent of 32 years, 80%. Auto survivor benefit. So all public safety plans, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, auto survivor benefit for my surviving spouse if I've been married for at least 2 years as a retiree. Those surviving spouses are going to get that 80% of the member's benefit for the rest of their life.
What if your surviving spouse gets remarried?
That's my knowledge, and still doesn't matter. Yeah. Heck, in Minnesota, if you're convicted of killing your spouse, we're not paying you. That's what the key was, conviction. Yeah. And again, I think I understand the logic. I mean, years ago, you know, dependent was the term that was used, and I think we've kind of matured. You know, we're not using that dependent anymore. as far as that goes. So it doesn't matter if they get remarried, win the Powerball, whatever. Our obligation is to pay that surviving spouse. Defined contribution, tier 3, public safety. Employer contributions vest at 10% per year. Again, fully vested at that 10-year benchmark. They have access to duty, disability, and killed in action. Again, they paid that premium as a defined contribution member to get that duty only, no ordinary. And again, I can determine as a DC member, how do I want this money? You know, do I want to annuitize it? Do I want to take it out the door with me and I'll figure it out, and I can go buy that big boat that I've always wanted and figure it out from there. But you know, again, that's nothing against DC plans. That's what I like about the pension. Maybe it's my mentality. I know that money is always going to be there. I can't outlive it. And our counterparts in the private sector are nervous as heck about DC plans because they are outliving them. That's why people are working longer. When the market did what it did, you know, roughly 10 years ago, did we really fret about it? We sit back and think about our pensions. Well, it really doesn't impact me. Well, man, if I had nothing but a defined contribution account, when the market did what it did 10 years ago, we would have been really upset. So that's just how it is. CORP Tier 1, rule of 80. Age and years of service equal 80 points. Again, they qualify for a full and reduced benefit. 10 years of service, age 62 is going to be reduced. 20 years of service, or 25 as a dispatcher. Any age, again, unreduced. So it's just trying to figure out that sweet spot in your career where you're at. Again, encouraging members. And I've heard that trying to encourage CORP members to get online is a little bit tougher than public safety members. But you know what? They have the tools. They're there. They should use them. Take advantage of it. Now, we get into that rule of 80, hired prior to August 9 of 01 versus after August 9 of 01, so a nice little statutory change there. So prior to August 9 of 01, it's a 2.5 multiplier. Okay, so each year of service, 2.5%. 25 years or 30 years of service is going to be 75% of my high 3 in this one. How much time do I have? Okay. Automatic survivor benefit. Here we go, being consistent once again, offering that auto survivor benefit for that surviving spouse of 80% of the member's benefit. Hired after August 9. Now we look at how was it graded? Yeah, for the first 20 years it's 2.5, kind of like Tier 1 public safety. First 20 years, 2.5 multiplier. 20 to 24, 11. 2%, but then once I get that 25 years, all my years of service are at 2.5%. So what we're trying to do is just educate members so they understand what their options are, and again, maybe trying to push some folks to work a little bit longer. Because what are the majority of our folks going to do when they retire? All they're doing is re-entering the labor market. Why? Healthcare. We all know it. That's why a lot of us are working a little bit longer as well. Tier 2, 10 years of service at age 62, 25 years of service at 52 and a half, 2.5 multiplier. Again, max is going to be 32 years or 80%. We got that high 5 auto survivor benefit. AOC Tier 3, because again, that's the only entity in CORP that has that traditional pension, are the AOC probation surveillance people. So when I say graded multiplier, that's what I mean. Based on my years of service, it's not a flat 2.5 across the board. It's when I hit certain benchmarks in service, I start seeing changes in the benefits. So, I mean, the longer I work, the higher the multiplier is. Kind of a simple concept. Benefits for working longer. Automatic survivor benefit, as I've been saying pretty much all day. Go ahead. Oh, so so applying for a benefit. Keep it simple. I'm sorry I didn't cover everything. Again, the member's going to come to the conclusion what they want. They're then going to have that meeting with the local board secretary to get the paperwork done. Local board's going to conduct a hearing. Local board's going to submit that paperwork to public safety by the 10th, please, or earlier. As I said this morning, nothing wrong with getting your paperwork in early, right, Joanne? I think some of our people in the organization would rather have it that way. I'm always encouraging a member to think about going at the end of the month. Why at the end of the month? Because the benefit effective date is the first of the month following. I talked to a member a couple days ago, February 4th. I'm like, February 4th? What's the significance of that? Well, it's just a date on the calendar. I'm like, okay. You terminate February 4th, your benefit effective date is March 1. You don't get paid until March 30th. You're going a long time with no income. Okay, just trying to help out as best I can. You know, so are we counselors? Are we, you know, should we be relied upon to that degree? Personal choice, everyone. Okay, you have access to some information, you have access to knowledge. How far do I want to go with this? Just sharing. And again, it's right out of it's in the handbook that illustrates some of this stuff. You got a question, Ben?
The example you had, so if someone wants to retire in March, would you recommend them to start doing paperwork right now?
If they're, oh yes. If they're retiring in March, would I recommend paperwork now? I would. Would you? Yeah. Yeah. We're on board with that, my friend. I think we'd rather get them done and on board than have to wait until we get to crunch time. I do apologize. Oh, Cindy. Really, Cindy? Go ahead. You can call. Cindy's on my speed dial, and vice versa. I assume. Again, I apologize that I didn't get through everything. I'm too much of a storyteller. I just get going sometimes. If anyone's interested in having us come out and do some member education, reach out to me, okay? I look at having minimums of 20 people in the room. I've got a couple people in here that we've already done programs for. So if you want to talk to Melissa or Sonia, we've been down there. We've been Northwest Fire, Penel, thank you. Well, I was getting there until this event cropped up, but now that I got some PowerPoints, I can, yeah, we're going to try to do PERC education as well. Take care, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a great day.